Hi, everybody. It's Mike from Hear the Watchman and the Watchmen's Report. And tonight I have my lovely wife, Jeannie, joining us. Thank you, Jeannie, for coming on tonight because we have a particularly interesting guest that Jeannie has followed for some time now. It's Mr. Scottie Clarke. Scottie, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Mike and Jeannie. I appreciate it.
Anytime, brother. You know, Scottie, as he's known to his close friends, has been a student of the Bible for a very long time. From a preteen Catholic altar boy to a converted Protestant worship leader, from working as a drummer with touring Christian music acts to serving on international mission teams, Scottie has lived his life in the service of the kingdom. His mission is to bring people to the understanding of their need for salvation through the grace offered by the Creator, who sent his only Son as the final sacrifice for sin, which separates humanity from him. One of his favorite focuses is the study of the end times, as revealed prophetically in the Bible. He will be at the Hear the Watchman conference in Boise, Idaho with us, August 18th through the 21st. That is the Signs in the Heavenlies, the Redemption Convention, and the Eclipse Encounter. And he will be joined there by Anthony Patch, Michael Boldea, Pastor Paul Begley, Russ Dizdar, Dr. Michael Lake, Derek and Sharon Gilbert, Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer, Josh Tolley, L.A. Marzulli, and Pastor Casper McLeod. Now, I just want to let you guys know before we really get into the meat of this, something that Anthony Patch said about this, man. Anthony, you all know Anthony is all about CERN, and he's just brilliant. And he's been to Hear the Watchman before, and I've interviewed him on our show before. Very popular. But when I told him that Scottie was going to be joining us as part of the team, he sent me an email back, and he said, fantastic. He will be your primary for the Revelation 12 Eclipse. He's much more up on this than I am. He balances my science regarding the parallel event of these two events, that of the birthing of the Antichrist spirit for the indwelling of the image of the beast, the resurrection of DNA of Cain, Osiris, Nimrod, via CERN, quantum computers, and the sequencing of DNA, all in Geneva. So, Scottie, we're just excited to have you here. Jeannie, what would you like to say to Scottie?
Oh, I just want Scottie to share his research. I started following you, Scottie, I think it was about in November when someone told me about your work, and I could not keep my eyes off your YouTube channel, Scottie Clarke, Eternal Rhythm Flow. So tell us about your work and your, you are the forerunner of the Revelation 12 discovery. Why don't you talk to our listeners about what you've learned and what you've discovered?
Well, I made a lot of videos about signs in the heavens years ago. I followed the blood moons and learned a lot about signs in the heavens through that with Mark Biltz's discovery. Prior to that, I was very interested in the Star of Bethlehem years ago, and it was actually years ago, 2010. 2011, I got a DVD by Rick Larson, of which he went into an astronomy program and looked for the Star of Bethlehem. And I found that the way that he did that, to look for what's in Matthew, the text, to be like, that's just a great way to do that. Is just go into an astronomy program and see if this is not a supernatural event, but if it's actual movement of the heavens. And so he had his theories. Dr. Ernest Del Martin wrote a book in '96 about that as well. And they come to they see some of the similar movements of the heavens, but I think what they believe happened on Earth on the specific dates differ a little bit. But when I got that DVD back then, I downloaded some software and I went through the DVD point by point to watch this. And then I learned how to use the software that I still use. And that's how I got to learn how to navigate the software and look around in the heavens for things. And then I remember I was bouncing around on the internet, and I found some forum, and people were talking about Bible prophecy and end times and signs in the heavens and things like that. And somebody was sort of going along the same lines there, and they posted a screenshot and they of this software, and they said, this is the Revelation 12 sign. But the screenshot was of the year 2011, which is already long gone, because this was before that. And because that was supposed to be coming. And I looked at the screenshot and what this person had to say, and I said, I think that's close, but it doesn't match Revelation 12, 1 and 2 correctly. So being that I had the software, I just decided to look for it myself. And I Googled it first to see if anybody, if they found the Star of Bethlehem, and if the blood moons had been found. This is probably already found too. But the September 23rd came up nowhere. And so I was kind of on my own. But it didn't take me long to go forward. And when I got to 2017, I saw what we now see with the sun in Virgo, the moon at her feet, and she's got 12 stars at her head, because Leo, my interpretation is that Leo has 9 stars in it, and then 3, Mercury, Mars, and Venus show up in Leo, creating that 12 that you need. But then the fascinating part is that Jupiter has on that day, the 23rd, Jupiter has just been born from the Virgin. And prior to that, it was in retrograde motion inside of Virgo. For my interpretation back then was 42 weeks, depending on, Jupiter going past her first line of her side. And that's a long-term gestation period. Others have said it's 40 weeks because they're counting from December, but you can make the line different if you connect it to another star. Either way, it's a human gestation period. It started last fall, and it comes out, or it started last winter and it comes out next fall. So you just can't find that. And then after a while, I've actually recently, in the last year, I went through, I believe in a 7,000 year timeline, and I literally took screenshots. I studied every single time that the sun is in Virgo and the moon passes the sun and the moon is at her feet. And you just don't have the other details of 12 stars and Jupiter doing what it does. And I believe that this is a once in a lifetime day of this alignment. If you've seen some of my recent videos, I actually show some clips of that where you see the stars just flying by, because I put all these screenshots in succession. And but it's a really long, it's like 30 minutes long to do 7,000 years.
Wow.
and it doesn't. It literally took me like a year just for that one project.
Oh my
which
gosh.
was literally, it doesn't even make a video for viewing purposes, because it's just the stars moving so fast, and you just kind of, you don't get a whole lot out of it. But for me personally, what I got out of it is that you can't find this exact alignment with the right planets doing what it does on the Feast of Trumpets of 2017.
Unreal. I know, it's just so incredibly accurate. I mean, God has everything aligned. He's a mathematician. He promised signs in the heavens. And it's just amazing that John the Revelator had this dream and saw this. And here we're going to see it in the sky in September. And then we're going to see you in August and watch the total eclipse of the sun going from one end of the United States to the other in a very rare event, right? It's going to be amazing.
And we're going up, Scotty. We're taking a tour bus, and some of the people from the conference that can stay over that next day. And we're going to go up to the top of the Continental Divide to actually watch this eclipse, which is listed as one of the top 5 viewing places in the world to see this. I guess I'd like to get your read. What do you think we can expect by that event when we're out there standing and witnessing the total eclipse?
I guess I haven't really thought about that so much. I mean, I've taken some pictures. There were some solar eclipses in 2014 and 2015. I took a picture of 2 of those blood moons out of the 4 because they were above me. And then I also took some, and those are on my website. If you go into the charts page, you can see some of that, but they weren't total. They were The blood moons were total, but the solar eclipses were partial.
Right.
And I remember taking pictures of those with my camera, and you just get this feeling of I'm in this exquisite moment. Like this just started, but it's going to end in a few minutes, and I'm right here in the center of it, and I can capture it. Click, and you just, as a believer, you knowing that this is not random, this is not, you know, some part of billions of years of just randomness and a Big Bang theory. This is all orchestrated, and especially when these things fall on feast days. But also, you know, Joel prophesied that the sun would be turned to darkness and the moon to be turned to blood before the tribulation period, before the great and terrible day of the Lord. And in my last video, you know, a lot of this is sort of open to speculation because I don't have a time traveling DeLorean where I could jump past next fall and say, you know, something happened or nothing happened. We're just watchmen, and I'm looking at what's happening here, and all I really have is the evidence of the heavens and what this says, and then I have to just use the brain that God gave me and try to figure out what could it mean. In my last video, I said that blood moons have been known in history as being harbingers to the Jews, to Israel, to the Jewish nation, and solar eclipses have been known in history to be harbingers or a bad omen to the Gentile nations. And America is a Gentile nation, and it happens over America. And it's an eclipse that hasn't happened in about 100 years. It goes from sea to shining sea. But it also happens during the time when the Revelation 12 sign that finalizes in September next year, it's already occurring right now because it started last winter. And just like the Star of Bethlehem, the wise men saw something that took time. It took about 9 months or so for the stars so it wasn't just like a one night, there's a star, follow it. They were following something that was taking a period of time. Well, the sign that we're in right now is taking a period of time, but then it has to finalize at some point. And within this time frame, you've got a solar eclipse, which is, I think, what we've been looking for, because I think that the fourth blood moon of 2014 and 2015, in the fall of 2015, that was an epic blood moon. It was seen from Jerusalem. It was a super moon, which means the moon's at perigee. It's a full moon. It's at perigee, making it a super moon. It was a total solar eclipse. It was seen from Jerusalem, and it was part of a prophetic blood moon tetrad. And it was on tabernacles. 6 layers of that moon.
It's
right?
just there's so many coincidences, quote unquote, right? What do you think? You and I had spoken on the phone quite late, and you had mentioned some significance between the time period from when we will see the total eclipse of the sun in August on the 21st, and then the September 23rd. You know,
alignment.
The final alignment. Is there a significance about that time frame?
Well, this is something that I pulled from Dr. Ernest L. Martin. Just in reading his book, he noticed that during the Star of Bethlehem events in the sky, he says that look at the celestial events that occurred around Rosh Hashanah, the date of September 11th, that he reckons as being the birthday of Jesus was the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah in 3 BC, September 11th. But he says exactly 1 month before, on August 12th, the world would have witnessed a close conjunction of Jupiter and Venus as they appeared as morning stars on the eastern horizon. This was a very close union. He says, then on September 11th, the new moon which occurred, which represented the Jewish New Year, this happened when Jupiter, the king planet, approached Regulus, the king star. He said that there could hardly be a better astronomical testimony to the birth of the new Messianic king from the Jewish point of view, because every one of these celestial occurrences I've mentioned happen with the sun or planets or moon being positioned within the constellation of Leo, the lion, the constellation of Judah, from whence the Messiah was destined to emerge, or Virgo, the virgin. And this is exactly what's happening this year.
Unreal.
You've got everything. You've got this epic solar eclipse over America, harbinger to the Gentile nations. It's happening right at the Regulus, in Leo the lion, the constellation. Now, there's 12 constellations, could happen anywhere, but it's happening in the constellation of the king, meaning the return of the king, and it's right next to Regulus, which is the king's star. You've got this solar eclipse happening while the Revelation 12 sign is in formation, taking about 9 months to complete.
It's just,
but it could have happened last year, before. It could happen next. It's happening right in this window of time.
And you had also mentioned in our conversation about the significance about 2017, the number 17.
Bollinger says 17 is the number of victory. It's the number of the overcomer. It's the number of resurrection, as is 8, the number of resurrection, and 1 and 7 makes 8. And that's in Bollinger's number in scripture. It's also in Ed Fallows' biblical mathematics. You've got these, 17 is a very exquisite number, actually. And it means resurrection and overcoming. And you know, at the end of each of the 7 letters to the 7 churches in Revelation 2 and 3, there's a promise given to the overcomer. But 17 is the overcomer number. He overcame death. And Jesus' Passover is the 14th of Nisan, right? Mm-hmm. But he was in the grave for 3 days.
Yep.
He rose on the 17th day, resurrection. That's that's first fruits, is the 17th day of the month. 17.
I know. I've watched all your videos, and I think you watched one.
I watched Gene.
We work differently. Yeah. Like our brains, totally process things differently, and so each of us get excited about different things. So
and I'm the one that gets up really early in the morning and comes down and does all my research. She wakes up at about 2 a.m. and she'll lay there and
every night
she's got her iPhone there and she's looking at all this stuff, and I'll wake up and, what are those lights? What am I seeing? And it's just Jeannie doing research. It's fascinating to me, and it gives me the chills, Scotty.
Yeah, and the other thing about 17 is the flood. Noah's flood started in the 2nd month in Noah's 600th year. That can be related to 6,000 after 6,000 years. In the prophetic, remember, there's layers. Prophecy gives you stuff in the beginning, but then it uses the numbers and it uses the pattern. Not exactly the same, but it gives you a prophetic foreshadow. In Genesis, it says that in Noah's 600th year, on the 2nd month and on the 17th day, that's when the flood began.
Wow.
So 600 could relate to the end of 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
2nd month could relate to 2,000 years from Messiah, or the 20 in 2000, and the 17th day is, so basically 2017. And on top, and there's other layers on top of that. The flood was prophesied 120 years before the flood happened. That's in Genesis as well. I've done all these charts and videos about this. And the reality is that people have been saying that we're in the 120th Jubilee from creation right now. But on top of that, it's 120 years right now from when Theodore Herzl founded the Jewish state in 1897. So you got this 120 in these different layers of Jubilees, but also years. And the first tribulation was the flood, when all the wicked were destroyed from the earth. The second tribulation period, that's what's going to happen, right? The Battle of Armageddon, all the wicked are going to be destroyed off the earth, and only those who are chosen and go into the millennium period. So the tribulation period is going to begin at some point. But the first tribulation of the flood was based on the number 6, Noah's 600 years or 6,000 year time frame. And it's got a 2 and a 17 in it. Second month, 17th day, which is like 2017. There's so many layers to this. But then there's also the bigger picture of sort of the footsteps to Daniel's 70th week. The footsteps to the Father putting his attention back on the Jews. Because right now we're in the church age, and his attention is primarily on the body of Christ. But he says in Micah 5:7, it says that the Messiah will let me just read it.
Perfect.
It says basically that the Messiah would be rejected, and therefore he shall give them up, like give up on them, until the time that she who is in labor has given birth. What's that pointing at? That's just kind of strange language to read by itself, unless you go to the back of the book and you find Revelation 12, there's a woman giving birth. And that child is the church being born. So that's the difference of these dispensations, is that the Father, he's given up on the Jews until the one who is in labor has given birth. That's the rapture. And then his attention, and then the tribulation begins. Isaiah 66:7 says that it reverses the woman's labor as being the birth happens first and the labor happens after. The labor is the tribulation period. So everything just seems to be lining up in a way that I never thought I would see. I've been looking for these things for years, but never quite knowing how to put the pieces together. And suddenly it really looks like 2017 is going to be an interesting year as we approach the fall.
Well, and we are in the days of Noah. Everything's aligning in that regard. And then Matthew 24, just the wars and rumors of wars and what's happening in Damascus. I mean, just everything is just coming together. It's just so wild. It's so amazing to see all these different, convergences, and everything just lines up perfectly. It's just like, I can't believe how awesome God is.
It's all planned. It's all planned. Has been from the beginning. He's got his plan, and he makes adjustments. There's sometimes, like with the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, it's a little bit of an argument about getting Lot out first, and
right.
So God changed his mind with that. But I really believe that this timeline is, everything is scheduled to occur when it's scheduled to occur. And when he spoke the universe and the stars into existence, he foreknew exactly where this alignment would happen, where every eclipse would happen, and they would be markers for what he's going to do. In Genesis 1:14, it says that the signs are or the stars are for signs and for seasons, but the word seasons is moedim, meaning the feast days. And it also says that the stars, they give forth speech, but with no words, meaning you have to interpret them. They say something, but you have to interpret them. They don't talk to you. So you need wise men to look up, take a good broad view of what where we're at, and then when we see these signs, we should really wake up and say, this could be something. What is he doing, and am I ready?
That's right. I mean, it's so interesting with your work and some of the other Watchmen's work, and then just our absolute calling without question to gather people and to get people in a position of repentance and an hourly walk with Jesus Christ. It's just the urge and the urgency has been so apparent to us. So we just know that we're running out of time, and we want everyone to learn of these amazing signs that God is providing for us, because he loves us. He's not trying to trick us, Scottie, right? He's trying to give us a map and urge us to follow his commandments and to have a relationship with him and get clean and get holy, right?
Absolutely. He wants us to be dedicated. That's what the word holy means. It's kodesh in Hebrew. And really what If you ask any Christian what the word holy means, they'll give you all kinds of different answers because it's a strange word that's never really been clarified. But if you go back to the Hebrew, what it means is dedicated. It means dedicated. Like, Jeannie, you're dedicated to Mike, right? Mike, you're dedicated to Jeannie. That's what holy means. It doesn't mean perfect. It means dedicated. That the Holy Spirit is dedicated to the Father's work, right?
Right.
So he wants us to be dedicated to him. And not stuck in the world and all the cares of this world. He wants us dedicated to him. And you know, what father doesn't love a child when the child is constantly going, hey dad, hey dad, hey dad, hey dad, let's do this, hey dad. But that kid who's like, I don't want to hang out with my dad, I want to go do something with all my friends, then you start that relationship parts. But the child who loves his dad and let's go fishing this weekend, hey, can we throw the football? I got a frisbee, dad, come on. Like, that kid is going to be loved like crazy, right? Because the father's going to be like, man, my son just loves me. That's what he wants from us, is that dedication and that closeness.
And we're made in his image and likeness. So his personality is very much like our personalities. And he is the perfect father, right? He is the perfect father. And when we fall and when we sin or we fall away and we come back to him, he comes with us with open arms and so happy that we're coming back to him.
Any good father would do that with understanding and patience, and he's got more of that than we can possibly fathom.
Exactly.
Well, Scottie, I gotta tell you, what a wonderful message to bring, especially today, with tomorrow being Redemption Sunday, and it's just a wonderful time to really think about everything that he did for us. And I'm honored to be in your company. You're one of the most intelligent men of God that I've met, and you're certainly a whole lot of fun to be around. And we are looking so forward to seeing you in Boise, Idaho, August 18th through the 21st. Folks, go to our website, hearthewatchmen.com. You can get all the details there. And Scottie, before we say goodnight, how do people find you? Where do they go? What's your website? How do they connect with you?
I am on, you can go to erfministries.com, and on the top right, there's all the social links. So you can find me easily that way. And there's YouTube as well. I would just say that's the easiest way to do it. You want to find me on YouTube? Go to my website, click the YouTube button. You want to find me on Facebook? Go to my website and click the Facebook button. There you go. So I don't have to say all this stuff.
Yeah, or just look for Clarke, right? Scottie Clarke,
Clarke.
Scott. And I just want to mention something. You know, a lot of people monetize their YouTubes, but Scottie does not monetize his YouTube. And he spends all his time dedicated to this research. And I am urging anyone who loves his work to just push his donate button and send him some support, because without Scottie's brilliant research, we wouldn't know any of this. And you wouldn't be able to see him at Hear the Watchmen either on live stream or in person. And it's going to be a glorious weekend of fellowship and learning and prophecy, and we're going to have so much fun. It's going to be so blessed, and God's going to be smiling from sea to shining sea as he warns us of times to come that we're going to witness together and pray. So, Scottie, thank you so much. Thank you. We're so excited. We can't wait to share more as we get closer to the conference, and we look forward to having you on our show again soon.
Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Mike. Great to talk to you, and I will see you and hopefully some of these viewers in Idaho.
Yay!
Yeah, come out and meet him in person, folks, and fellowship with all the rest of the people. That's really what it's all about. You build family. It's going to be at one of the most beautiful locations that we've held a conference at. It's right on the river, just a wonderful place, and we really want to see you there. So again, hearthewatchmen.com. And until next time, folks, God bless each and every one of you. Have a wonderful, blessed celebration tomorrow of Jesus. And we'll see you next time on the Watchman Report. Good night.